Welcome on Texas football. Time for Gerry Hamilton and myself to talk a little big takeaways from yesterday's scrimmage. We've given you all the news and notes we kind of have, but we kind of want to take a bigger picture look at what we're hearing based on the scrimmage from yesterday, Gerry. And I wrote a piece for ontexasfootball.com earlier today. You've written some notes and talked to other people as well. What are some of the big takeaways? And we'll go, let's start with maybe what I think is the biggest. And I wrote this morning. I think it's the quarterbacks. This will be, all three of them look good yesterday. Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, Trey Owens. They all three look good based on observations of a number of different people we talked to.
Yep.
But the difference now compared to a year ago or 2 years ago, even 3 years ago in Sark's first year, this is going to be a quarterback-led team. It will be Sark's first truly quarterback-led team as a Longhorn. Now, that doesn't mean Quinn wasn't the leader yet last year, et cetera, that kind of thing. What I'm getting at by that is quarterback will come first. And Sark is a quarterback-first coach. He says it's the most important position. They deserve that based on what I'm being told. That group as a whole deserves it. And they've got a number of different guys that can get the job done. They worked yesterday a lot on progressions, I'm told. That was a priority for this team. They did not just take the first read. That was one of the things that I'm hearing from behind the scenes that was important. But as we look at a big takeaway from this scrimmage, in my opinion, the one thing that they can hang their hat on and are going to hang their hat on is the guy that takes snaps from center, and that starts with Quinn Ewers this year.
Yeah, and as much as working on progressions yesterday, it may have been quarterback-wide receiver relationship yesterday. Or
yes,
the wide receivers make the progressions. Can they make the same reads that Quinn makes? That, to me, is kind of the key, because last year you knew Xavier Worthy was making those reads. You knew Jordan Whittington was making those reads. You knew A.D. Mitchell was making those reads as he got more comfortable. And J.T. Sanders. Now, with all the new wideouts and Nyblack and Juan Davis and more of a role, are they making all those same reads? But from a quarterback perspective, look, it's a third year for Quinn and Sark's system. So I jokingly said he had his associate's degree year one, his bachelor's in year two, and now he's going for his master's in the Sark College of quarterbacking this year. So I think Texas is in a really good place. Then Arch Manning is in year two. I heard he was really good in 2-minute drill yesterday. Him and Wingo have a real connection working on that second unit in 2-minute drill. I think Arch Manning provides more athleticism from your number two quarterback. I just think the quarterback position, and Trey Owens obviously has a live arm. I think with all the young quarterbacks, we always talk about speed of the game. And I think people, when they think about speed of the game with the quarterback, are thinking, okay, he has to get the ball out earlier, or he has to throw the ball here to this spot because the receivers are faster. I also think speed of the game with young quarterbacks is not letting your eyes drift when you start feeling and seeing faster, more athletic edge and pass rushers in your peripheral and bigger bodies. So keeping your eyes up. I think that's what Trey Owens continues to work on in year one for him. But I think the quarterbacks are in a really good place.
Next piece, major takeaway that I wrote about, and we got 4 here we want to talk about today. The second one that I talked about this morning was a defense that has an opportunity to become an opportunistic defense. Based on what we heard in scrimmage 1, they should have a better pass rush. That is going to come to pass. We've talked about it all fall camp, all spring. We said they should have the pieces to have a better pass rush. They do, based on scrimmage 1. That is a legit issue. They can run into a NASCAR package put Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Anthony Hill, and Mo Blackwell, as well as Ethan Burke on the field at the same time. They're going to get that. They also created more turnovers yesterday, not just interceptions, but also fumbles. Yeah. So I feel like another major takeaway from this scrimmage is this is a different defense than last year. They are not going to be as dominant. Last year's defense was dominant against the run. They may not be dominant against the run, but they have a chance to be a much more opportunistic defense, and that may be their calling card this year. Because also, don't forget, they're going to implement some of Johnny Nanson's scheme and system that's going to give them more opportunities like that as well. So outside of QBs, I put an opportunistic defense down as a real potential calling card after scrimmage one. Do you agree with that?
I do, and it's because of pass rush. Pass rush creates opportunity to me in football. That's the whole deal. If you speed up the quarterback, you may have more tip balls, more tip passes, quarterback to receiver, timing thrown off. If you know you're getting outside pass rush and you can push a quarterback into the pocket, what do your D linemen do if they can't get home? Throw your hands up. You saw Washington do it against Texas. Those create opportunities, batted balls, thrown off timing. So I do think more opportunistic is the right word to use for Texas defense this year. And I'll be honest, they have to be, because they can't just line up and just dominate you against the run. So if you can't line up and dominate somebody against the run, then you have to be opportunistic and create more pass rush to offset what the change in your defense from a year ago.
The other thing that kind of plays into that opportunistic is the depth of that defense and all the different varieties and players they can play into a type of defense.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was part of that when I was talking about it today. The other thing that I think is a major takeaway, and we talked about it all off season as well, and apparently it showed up yesterday, Jerry, in the scrimmage, is just team speed generally is. I don't want to say it's off the charts because, you know, that means you're talking about the fastest team ever or whatever, but they may be the fastest team Steve Sarkisian has had, even though they just lost 3 receivers that one ran a 4.2, one ran a 4.3, and another ran a 4.4. I'm not talking about just the receiver position either.
Exactly. 1 through 85.
1 through 85, the fastest team Texas has had, and they go 6 deep at receiver. They got a fast tight end. They got fast running backs now. Their 1 and 2 running backs are both faster guys than they are bigger guys. The speed on this team is amplified. And I think Texas, again, when I talked with Steve Sarkisian during a media availability, he mentioned he's going to try to lean into what this team does best. And I think team speed is a huge takeaway. It is legitimate, and it is a focal point for this team and a strength.
I don't have any doubt. Look, they've recruited 3 straight top 5 level recruiting classes, and they're blue blood recruiting in the portal. And Steve Sarkisian's already proven that he was improving the speed on the roster year by year. Well, this is now a 3rd straight top 5 class being added to this program that was already getting faster while getting bigger. This is the fastest football team Texas had. I don't have any doubt about it. If you took all the catapults and all the testing numbers, whatever they have, 1 through 85, it's the fastest team he's had. And what'll be interesting offensively, Bobby, is does that change a little bit of what Sark does on offense? Does he not run as many long developing plays and get the ball out quicker to those speed players and let them make plays with their speed without putting it all on offensive line, quarterback, running back, and pass pro to let all these longer developing play action plays actually develop? Does he use that speed differently than maybe what we're thinking at times this year?
I think that's part of it. I will say this, just another nugget that we can throw out there. I was told that the defense has more speed on it as well. Gavin Holmes, as a corner, is much faster than Terrence Brooks.
Yes.
Okay. Andrew Bakuba, much faster than Jaron Thompson.
Yeah.
A year ago. Okay. So you mix that together, and all of a sudden, Anthony Hill, much faster than anybody. David Benda, faster, by the way, than Jalen Ford.
Right.
So they've got more speed on the field on both sides of the ball. And I want to add this. I was told yesterday that, yes, there were some explosive plays on offense, but not once all practice long or all scrimmage long did the defense get beat deep. They got beat intermediate and underneath, but they did not get beat deep. that plays into having speed on the outside or the wherewithal and knowledge to understand what you're doing over the top as a corner as well. So I think that portends well for the secondary in Texas too.
Yeah, if you have speed in your front seven, Trey Moore, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill's a faster player in year two. I'm not talking testing numbers. He's just a sophomore. And like you said, Benda, more speed. Then what does that create? What does that do defensively? That doesn't give a passing game as long to run the longer developing plays and throw over the top of you. So the more athletic you are in your front, the harder it is for an opponent or a team you're practicing against, especially if you know what's coming, right, to get the ball down the field because you're affecting timing quicker. And that speed and athleticism, and that's 1 through 85 we talked about, and that carries into your front seven.
The last major takeaway for me, and then we're going to get on some minor takeaways as well too, but the last major takeaway I had, Jerry, was the run defense. The Texas did not run the ball great yesterday, but they didn't try to force it either. I do believe, and I was told that they're not going to force running back issues in camp right now, given that they're already down one. So running inside is not a priority for them. We can talk a little bit more about that. But when I say run defense, this is what I was told. Texas can really throw numbers at an opposition right now on the interior. They really do have a large number of folks. And so they think they're going to get fresher players overall in that category. And that's going to help them as much as knowing that they can't just outright replace T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. And so the run defense and the run D numbers at defensive line, at least as it's currently constituted, before there are any injuries, et cetera, I'm being told that Texas fans should have some confidence. That's the first time I've heard it. Confidence, not just, hey, we're going to see what it looks like. Confidence that they're going to have enough on the interior to kind of, not necessarily, people are going to be able to run on Texas at times. That's just the way it is. But they should have enough to be okay.
Yeah. And yes, I would agree with that. Look, they have versatility in their front too. That's the thing that I think can make them dangerous within their front seven is they have versatility in their front. If they have enough depth on the deep interior D line where they can play Alfred Collins as a 6, a 5 or a 6 at times, right? That's versatility because 3-4 months ago during spring practice, we weren't sure if that was possible. They have versatility. They can play Bill Norton for some snaps over the ball, in that tilt position, but then come right back with two guys who are more of a 3 technique, right? So they have versatility. You have more versatility. Look, we haven't talked about it, but Texas can run a true NASCAR package this year. They can line up a Colin Simmons at Sam linebacker with Anthony Hill on the field and Trey Moore and Burke on the edges. That's versatility. So, and all those things, I think you factor into it. And the more a defense has to prepare, offense has to prepare for you, the more you're at an advantage. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. If the more a team has to prepare for different looks you can give them, the more you are at an advantage. And if you can give people versatility within your front, that makes you a lot more difficult to prepare for. So I think Texas does have the strength in numbers and experience. I mean, the one thing about this is, do they have a standout, just stout run defender? Probably not. But Alfred Collins has played 4 years. Broughton's played 4 years. Savea's played 4 years. Norton's played 4 years. Lole was a 2018 recruit that's had injuries. I mean, they have 5 guys who have played 4 years of Power 4 football. That's invaluable to me.
Yeah, I agree.
That's assignment sound players.
They feel it. Look, based on what I was told, they feel good about their interior DL. Like I said, I used the word confident, Jerry.
Yeah.
The first time I've heard someone use the word confident. Doesn't mean that they're going to be world beaters, though.
Right.
Just confident. Okay. So something that we've talked about all spring and all summer, whether or not this would happen, after the first practice, they feel pretty good. All right, all right. I shouldn't say first practice, first scrimmage. That's a big differentiator. All right. Those are the big takeaways, I think, Jerry. Now there's some smaller takeaways. They're more nuanced, I guess is the best way to put it. Let's start with Darian Gillette. Basically, he moved over from linebacker, played actually linebacker and running back in the scrimmage, got some run with the twos as the big back in inside zone situations. What I was told is he has no problem with collisions. He's looking, he has no problem running it up in there. Now, Jerry, I think the question for us is this a permanent move for this season? I think Steve Sarkisian is going to, I think they're actually talking about that today. Yeah. Whether or not that may be a permanent move, we'll see. It could still go back and forth and flip-flop a little bit. But I will say they did not run a lot of inside zone yesterday because they don't want to mess with getting Blue, Weisner hurt right now. They did run it a little bit with Gibson, Gillette, as well as Christian Clark. Other takeaways for you, Jerry, the receiver variety. You wanted to talk about that a little bit in developing rapport with various folks.
Yeah, I think that's the key for me is, you know, what we don't talk about enough. We talk about all the speed and the talent at the wide receiver position. And we talk about Quinn and Arch and their skill sets. But to me, the biggest thing for Quinn Ewers this year is who does he really trust? That's a big thing because when you get into a game at Michigan, Quinn, your quarterback, and I'm not saying Quinn, your quarterback will tend to drift towards the guys he trusts to be in the right spot. And so who are those guys going to be? And I don't think we know for sure after the first scrimmage. I think DeAndre Moore very possibly may be the most trusted guy in terms of reading defense and being on the same page. And we talked
about when you say that, you're talking about two words, route recognition.
That's it. And
it's not just, to your point, Jerry, it is not just the receivers. It's the top. I mean, Amari Niblack is new.
Yes.
J.T. Sanders was terrific at that.
Yeah.
Sitting down where he's supposed to. It's not just the wide receivers that are new to this.
Because Sark puts a lot on these guys. This is not the easiest scheme to pick up. So the question there is, I think Silas Bolden's really good in the slot in that regard right now. But he wasn't here for spring practice, so he's still learning on. Despite all the plays he's making, he's still in learning mode right now. Ryan Wingo, probably a third of the playbook you can really hand him right now. He's a young football player. He's never played a college football game. But that 33% of the playbook, he's really, really good at it, okay? But that means he's still a freshman that's never played, so Sark has to put him in the right positions for him to maximize himself. Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore came into this fall camp. They should be ahead in this when what we're talking about here. They've been with the program a year. Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond. This was their first, they had spring practice last year, but this is their first scrimmage at Texas in fall camp. And so that is, again, were they all in the right place all the time on Saturday scrimmage? Those are the things that I think will get ironed out a little bit if there were some issues between big jumps between first scrimmage, second scrimmage, and then on into the first game of the season.
All right, some other smaller nuanced points as well. And this isn't even small. Jalen Gilbo is just, he's going to play.
Yeah.
We talked about it in the preseason, said this might be the guy to kind of circle and watch for. He's starting at star, did so again in yesterday's scrimmage. Jahdae Barron was able to get out and make some plays at cornerback. That is definitely a piece to this. That's a small one. No, I shouldn't say small one, but that is a piece that everybody needs to be aware of. The next piece I had was, and Jerry, you used the term, somebody told you Anthony Hill, quote, had a whale of a scrimmage. A couple of different people just said Anthony Hill is just a, quote, difference maker.
Yeah.
Like two different people used the term difference maker with me. So from that standpoint, we're all on the same page there. Another one, Jerry, that you mentioned, and we talked about it with speed and opportunistic defense, is this NASCAR package.
Yes.
And just how dirty it might look. It could be a game changer. Granted, Texas got to get those people in third and long to get there, but that could be a real eye opener for Texas. You agree with that?
100%. Look, what did Anthony Hill have? 4.5, 5.5 sacks last year. Ethan Burke had about the same. Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, and I'm not saying they're going to hit it, but they may be double-digit sack level pass rushers. Doesn't mean they're both going to get 10 sacks. I'm not saying that, but level guys. If you could put 4 guys like that on the field at the same time in obvious passing situations, Texas hasn't been able to do that since when, Bobby?
Ever? Not since maybe back when they had Sergio Kendall and those guys.
Yeah.
When they really had pass rushers. I would add the other piece of that, Mo Blackwell playing a little bit in that NASCAR as well. Yeah. Another guy that has the speed that, you know, I think it opens the possibilities up. And yes, I will say this, and we agree with you. It does play into that overarching theme that we talked about being opportunistic as a defense. But I think that was a takeaway that we need to mention. Texas also, one last piece before I go, I want to say this. They also played a little bit more often. They played single high defense at time in the scrimmages, what I'm told.
You can do that more in the SEC.
Yeah. Texas, as we know this, Texas historically has run too high safety look under Pete Kwiatkowski. That's obviously an influence of not only Johnny Nansen, but maybe Steve Sarkisian saying, hey, we got to be a little bit more aggressive on defense. So major takeaways, just to recap, Jerry, were obviously the QBs, and this is going to be a quote-unquote QB-driven offense. For the first time, it really will be a completely QB-driven offense, in my opinion. Defense looks like it might be more opportunistic. This season has the capacity to be and capability of it. Team speed, very, very strong. And then the DL interior, I mentioned that word confident. Those are the things I would talk about. All right, Jerry, that's going to do it for this Sunday's edition of On Texas Football. We've got another one coming up here later today, and then we have the live stream tonight at 7 p.m. For Gerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. Longhorns first scrimmage in the books. Hook 'em.